Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Well, Deputy Speaker, all I can say is good grief. The Australian community was expecting us to come in here and have an intelligent debate about the issue of banning gambling advertising. And all we have heard so far from the members of the government is a whole lot of platitudes and backslapping about a wonderful job they are doing. No mention so far of the fact that the Murphy inquiry more than 2 years ago made a flagship recommendation that there be a 3-year phase-out of gambling advertising for a range of reasons. For a start, Australians are sick of it. They're sick to death every time they turn on their iPad or their phone or their telly or whatever, they are bombarded with gambling advertising. It's annoying and it's ruining their enjoyment of sport. But much more important than the annoyance of gambling advertising is the way it's normalising gambling in our community at all age levels, to the point where I would say it is more than normalising, it's grooming children to become future gamblers. No wonder the Australia Institute recently, during its research, found that in 1 year, almost 1 million teenagers between the ages of 12 and 19 had gambled. How can we accept that as a country and as a community, that almost 1 million teenagers gambled in any 1 year? I mean, this is an intensely human issue, Deputy Speaker, because as you increase the prevalence of gambling, as you normalise it, you increase the prevalence of gambling and addiction. And with gambling addiction comes people losing, many people, tens of thousands of people, losing money they can't afford to lose, losing relationships, losing their family, losing their job, losing their health and their mental health, and in the worst case, self-harming. This is what I'm very pleased the member for Clare has raised this, Deputy Speaker, the issue of suicide, because we like to just push that aside. It's unpalatable to talk about. But we know for a fact out of the UK that something like 5% of people who gamble who have a gambling addiction attempt suicide in any 1 year. We know for a fact that in Australia more than 400 people suicide any 1 year as a direct result of gambling addiction. In other words, since the Murphy report was released more than 2 years ago, approaching 1,000 Australians have taken their life because of their gambling addiction, and yet we come in here and we pat each other on the back and say what a grand job we're doing. We're not doing a grand job at all. And why is this? Why is it so hard for a government to simply implement the bipartisan or tripartisan unanimous recommendations of the Murphy report more than 2 years ago? I'll tell you why, Deputy Speaker, because the government and the opposition are scared stiff of the gambling companies. The government and the opposition are scared stiff of the media companies. The government and the opposition, they're scared stiff of the major sporting codes who profit from the bets that are laid on their games, from the NRL, from the AFL. That's what this comes down to. It comes down to gutless policymakers who are not prepared to stand up to these thugs and put the public interest ahead of the corporate interests of the gambling companies, the media companies and the major sporting codes. That's what it comes down to. Anyone who's listening into this debate out in the community, they won't just be disappointed, Deputy Speaker, they'll be distressed. There's every chance they know someone with a gambling addiction. It could be their mum or their dad or their brother or their sister or their son or their daughter or their friend or their work colleague. And they look at us and they hear our debates and they think, how can those politicians be so selfish and so clueless and so weak? Because that's what it comes down to, Deputy Speaker. I've been banging away on this for a long time, and a lot of Australians have been banging away on this for a long time. And we will keep taking this fight up to the government and the alternative government until they grow a backbone and they stare down these powerful vested interests. Because until they do, people will keep suffering, people will keep dying, and the public will have had a gutful with the political class. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.